excited. We cover Playboy.
Well, Mr. Freeman, thank you for taking your time out and answering a few questions for us.
You're very welcome.
Now, tell me, how do you see the future of space?
Well, think back to the 1400s, when everybody thought that the world was flat. Some intrepid souls said it couldn't be. And I think every time mankind, is confronted with a horizon, we are driven. It might be the whole of projecting human history forward. It might be our whole history that it's the horizons that will always beckon. And our next horizon is in outer space. We're going.
We're going.
We're going. Make no mistake about it. I just learned something 2 days ago that I have to confront NASA with now.
Do you want to share that with us?
Well, I'll just stick it out there because I know about it, and it's called Solar Flare Proton Event.
And what is that?
That is proton bombardment from solar flares that we have not developed any protection against.
So if you had a choice, would you live in space or on Earth?
Well, I think given a choice, it would be awfully charming to move from one environment to the other. Seriously, if ever there were an opportunity to be in space, even just simply to experience weightlessness, you know, in the special planes, it's something that I would seize on. We are making such advances nowadays that, and as I plan to live for a very long time, I hope that there may still be an opportunity that I shall be able to look back on this planet as some of our distinguished guests, Buzz Aldrin, Jim Lovell, have done already.
When did you first become interested in space and in exploring it?
Oh, as a child, don't all young people look up at the sky? I was one of those that literally lay in a field at night in the long grass in the summer and gazed at the stars and wondered what was out there. It was as corny as that.
It's beautiful. Mm-hmm. You had to live in space. What would be the one thing you would miss from Earth?
I don't know. Well, unless we had, Earth-like gravity over there, a really good shower. Can you imagine trying to take a shower and the water doesn't come down? It just kind of floats around. It would make the mornings awfully difficult.
That's true. Thank you so much for your time.
Welcome.
It was lovely talking to you. Bye. Thank you. Thanks. Richard, thank you for taking your time out and to answer a few questions for us.
You're welcome.
Now tell me about the books you just published.
Okay, my brother and I published a series of books called Apogee Books. That's the name of the label. And we published a series of books called the NASA Mission Reports, which is, we're trying to preserve the education for the children of what we did in Apollo and Mercury and Gemini, all the space flights from 30 years ago. But we're also now trying to push forward so that we can educate kids to see that space really does affect all of us.
You're involved with the Space Frontier Foundation. How long before do you think we'll have hotels in space and travel space on a daily basis?
It's the issue is not whether we can do it. It's the issue is the money, and it's got to be able to pay for itself. That's what we at the foundation try to do. We're trying to make it a business, a viable business, and an economic proposition that we know people are out there who would really love to go into space. How much are they prepared to pay for it? Mr. Tito just spent something in the region of about $15 million to go, and there are a lot of other people who would spend that. But I mean, that's a little bit out of most people's league. I think that if we could get into space around about $100,000 for a 1 week or a 2 week stay, there would be millions of people lining up to go.
Do you think that our continuous exploration of space is going to endanger the human species?
I think it's the only way that we will continue as a species. The reason the dinosaurs died is because they didn't have a space program. One of the things that I run a program called The Watch, and we try to finance astronomers to find asteroids out there that are flying around, big giant chunks of rock, as in Deep Impact and Armageddon. And we want to be able to find these things so that we know where they are, because if an asteroid hits this planet, it'll make a volcano or an earthquake look like a picnic. But the great thing about this is that we can actually do something about it. If we have enough warning of an asteroid impacting the Earth, we can actually move it. We have ways and means of being able to move it, and I don't mean blowing it up with nuclear weapons. And so I think that without a space program, we are doomed as a species. Eventually, sooner or later, even Stephen Hawking said it recently, we are doomed as a species unless we have a space program, a really viable, energetic space program. It's the only way to go.
How would our diet be like up in space?
That's a funny question in some respects, because we interviewed a lot of the Apollo astronauts, and they had issues with the fact that some of the food was good. The food on the space shuttle now is a lot better than it was on the Apollo days. In the Apollo days, they kind of squeezed it out of a tube. Now they have nice food. They have shrimp and all sorts of different foods. But I think pretty much as long as it doesn't flake and disappear into lots of little pieces, if you have like a flaky cookie or something and it breaks, you bite it, you're going to get lots of crumbs floating around. They're not going to be on your shirt. They're going to be floating around.
And you can still eat them.
Yeah, and you're going to be catching them and trying to eat them when they're floating around you. So you've got to be careful. It's got to be kind of sticky food. If it's sticky food, it stays in one place. You know, so you can keep it there, dip it in some ranch dressing or something, and bite it.
Through your exploration, did you find any extraterrestrials up in space or Mars or trying to contact Earth? Is there any sign, evidence of that?
That's a really good question. Yes, there is evidence of life on other planets. Not of the type that we would like to see right now in terms of, you know, aliens with big eyes coming down and saying, hey fella, how are you? Take us to your leader. But we think now that there's life pretty much spread throughout the universe, but of a single-celled nature, like bacteria, single-celled organisms. I absolutely, totally believe the amount of stars and planets out there, there are civilizations out there.
When that's going to happen, I can't predict.
Oh, you can't predict, because I was just going to ask you that. But did you think that we would be so evolved as we are now in exploring space? Did you think we would be at this level?
Well, I saw Arthur Clarke's 2001 here in Los Angeles when it first premiered. I hope we'd be much further along by the time we got to 2001 than we are. However, we've made progress, and I believe that it was his vision that is the reason that we have a space station on orbit right now.
That's great. If you had to live in space, what is the one thing that you would miss from Earth?
Well, first I'd make sure I took my wife with me.
That's important.
It's important. Well, the longest I've spent in space is I've flown 4 missions, and we were up for about 8 days. And I didn't find much that I missed. It's such a beautiful place. It's an environment that I believe people adapt to very well. But it's interacting with folks. It's hard to get this many people in space. Maybe someday they will. But you miss people, I think.
Would you go back again?
Absolutely.
All right.
Take my wife with me.
Well, thank you so much. As we're exploring space further, do you feel that we are endangering the human species?
No, quite the opposite. I think that the human species has a strong urge to explore and move on. And basically, to me, the space shuttle, in a sense, is just like a covered wagon. People are looking for other places to go, for whether it's a philosophical thing or just wanting to see what's over the next hill. And as a matter of fact, I think that space exploration will be the savior of mankind, because as this planet becomes worn out, in a sense, it's only going to be able to sustain human life for a certain length of time. And if the humans can get off the planet and into the tons of real estate that's out there, I think the human species has a tremendous opportunity to survive and prosper.
Thank you.
You're welcome.